So I'm Fee. I run a design organisation called MakeWorks. And I guess, to be honest, when Alex first told me the theme for this was climate, I was a bit worried because I guess I don't think of myself as someone that thinks about climate and environment as the first and foremost point of my practice. But then the more and more I thought about it, I realised that actually everything we do is completely related to that. I just hadn't really noticed it. So I guess the title of this talk really is, Are we still allowed to make things? I'm a designer, I guess product, service, digital designer. Most of my time is spent in front of walls, trying to figure things out in a slightly creepy Homeland style way. I guess that's how I look at things from the digital perspective, so how a website works, how that service, you interact with that, but right through to the graphics and the physical products and the interactions you have with it. I'm also a total manufacturing geek. I'm completely obsessed with anything that moves, any bits of machinery, any materials. Most of my time is spent actually hunting out these sort of gifts on the internet. I find it fascinating, just like the way that things are made. Scissors I found this technique the other day actually, where you essentially, it's like you dissolve a pattern and then dip it in water and you can create different effects. And I find understanding how everyday objects are made just a very interesting thing of what we do. Again, I watch all the kind of really geeky how it's made, but right through looking at making and manufacturing now, coming right back into very much the forefront of, I guess, fashion, and I guess some of the ways this is done I don't completely agree with sometimes because it's a little bit framed, or I refer to it as process porn, there's a whole but then to do with making, so I went to Glasgow School of Art and I studied really service design, but at the same time I really loved actually physically making things. And the first time I really realised that that was a thing for me was when I was in New York and I was working in Cork, and that thing of being able to understand an object from sourcing the material right through to actually making it was just the most empowering experience. Completely incredible as a designer to see something that you've made be out in the world. But the thing with cork that I found really kind of just interesting to understand is that, cork comes from Portugal. 53% of the world's cork supply is there. And if you don't harvest that cork, then those whole forests will die off if you don't do it every single year. And it's all harvested in a local economy. And so using that is actually really important to make sure that that sustains itself. I guess just the way that the landscape interacts with design and the effect that we have on it is something that I've just always found very, very interesting. I'm actually off to South Africa next week to investigate gold mines, and the way that those things come to being. These sort of images, I guess it's not what you would associate with when you work with a gilder or one of those sorts of trades, and I'm really interested in linking them up and trying to, make that system more transparent. This is a slide from a really brilliant film which everyone should watch called Manufactured Landscapes. And again, I'm just fascinated by that scale of just like when you see it all together like that, it's like the way that we produce things is just such a massive, massive thing. Like the effect that we have on our natural landscape and what that actually looks like. I think we're quite far removed from that when we're walking around everyday life. I think a really good example of that as a project, this is the Toaster Project by Thomas Thwaites, which I guess maybe quite a lot of you have seen. Essentially he decided to make a toaster from scratch. So everything from the iron ore, all the bits of metal, what processes you would need to go to actually make that. And the story is really amusing, if you like, because of course this cost thousands of pounds to actually make, which was trying to replicate a £3.99 toaster from Asda. I guess in that, so the products that I now look to buy are ones that I can try and understand what those things are. This is a Fairphone, which is essentially a phone that you can understand where every component is from, and you can replace components if they break. So I guess when I'm looking to buy things now, it's looking for that story behind it and actually trying to figure out how can I break it apart, like how do I actually understand how this object works, where is it from, who made it. On our website, we run articles as well as a kind of practical service. And part of the things we try to investigate are just understanding what does mass manufacture mean and what does small local scale manufacture mean as well. This is a photo from Gemma Lord, who is not here today, but was on an expedition over to China, and she found this factory which had essentially all the gifts for Christmas that are being shipped all around the world. So it's a Christmas making factory. And I just thought that just was quite, I guess, shocked by that at the time, to see it when you walk around just assuming you can buy Santa hats. And I guess, continuing that, I guess the lack of understanding of the impact of what we're doing as designers. This film, Chasing Ice, again, I watch a lot of factory-related films. That's kind of my main thing that I do, really. But yeah, this is like an ice breaking, but actually that shot is the same size as Manhattan that's breaking off. And again, just sort of trying to understand that's like a huge, like if Manhattan overturned overnight, we'd see it as a complete catastrophe and disaster, but of course it's just kind of going unnoticed a lot of the time. And that's the reality of the world we're living in at the moment. I guess, going down this slight apocalypse theme, I recently read the Naomi Klein book, This Changes Everything, and I think that's where a lot of this stuff came together for me, because I realised I was interested in how the climate works and the environment, but actually, I run a small business, but that's about international production and international design as well, and the way that those things come together. So we're also a technology startup, and there's a lot about how the hell do you make money and how do you make profit, and those things coming together. The book itself is really scary, and actually I could only read half of it because it felt like the apocalypse is coming and I don't know what we're going to do. So trying to move off from that. I guess as someone that's running a technology startup, my brain is quite often torn between the Imminent Accelerator in London, and so that world is very much about investments and continually giving graphs like this, like where's your growth, where's your growth, like where are you making money, how many users have you got, and to be honest, that makes my face go like this. And it's really difficult, I think, to try and balance those two things, because if you want to have a big impact to change something, but then there's that pressure of how do you make that sustainable for yourself and as a business. I guess, to kind of the way that I try and deal with that, or recently I've very much come to terms with it. This Jiro Dreams of Sushi is another really brilliant film, but Jiro is a sushi maker in Japan, and he has dedicated his life to the craft of making sushi and being the best place in the world to go for sushi. It's a tiny restaurant, but he is world-renowned as the best, and I have so much respect for that, putting in the hours and dedicating to doing one thing really, really, really well. And actually, that's okay if you're small, but you're the best in the world. I think that's such a feat, and actually now that's even better to be able to do, because there is this pressure to be in every country or be international, and actually quite often I feel that's quite loose, and actually dedicating to doing one thing, I just think that's really inspiring. And there's this book, Small is Beautiful, and there's actually a brilliant conference in June all around that kind of thought. And I guess, again, I've used this book a lot recently just to try and understand, very much still having a global outlook, but how do you have a business that is actually small, and actually, how does that work? And I guess just the work that we're doing with MakeWorks, I get to see that every single day, and that is like the most inspiring thing. So we get to go out and we visit makers, manufacturers, all locally in Scotland. This is Kevin, who's a ceramicist. Again, he just dedicates what he's doing to being really high quality at what he does. This is Lindsay at Hunter Press. Again, has taught herself how to run a letterpress studio and is continuing that trade. This is Chris at Gabriel Polishing, who is, I swear to God, like the most passionate French polisher I've ever met in my life, and just the commitment and passion he has behind shellac was just absolutely beautiful. We get to see, this is Ken from Aero Leather, and they make leather jackets. And I think that, just that notion of we make leather jackets and that's what we do, and we do it, and we're the best. The people that have these jackets all over the world are some of the biggest celebrities, but it's made like a tiny little back street in Galashiels, and you just wouldn't notice the factory if you were going down the street. I guess continuing the pattern cutting, so very much from the artisanal but right through to manufacturing. I'm amazed at how much local manufacturing we still have here. This is a gasket factory, and people think about gaskets as it's a very industrial process. It's kind of for the oil industry, it's offshore, but actually we walked in there and it was just this moment of saying making a gasket isn't about manufacturing that one product, like this is pattern cutting for rubber. And I guess we walked in and we just thought this doesn't have to just be gaskets, this is flooring, this is fashion, this is sculpture. This factory will make you anything in flat rubber, from really thin to really thick, and in any shape and any size. And again, the quality and the craftsmanship of that for local designers and artists to go and work with sort of blew my mind, to be honest. And I think the maker movement and the way that people are realising that empowering thing of we can make bespoke and we can do small run, and that's actually an exciting thing to be able to do. And that's very much, I think, started with like the rise of 3D printing. But I sort of see 3D printing as it's one tool of many, many things that you can do. And it's a brilliant way to get people excited about the fact that they can make a bespoke one-off thing. Same with things like laser cutting, CNC machining, digital fabrication that kind of, I guess, are in the media a lot right now. But I guess what goes along with that is that people say, okay, well, we've got to build all these new workshops, all these new factories, and people, I guess, continually talk about, like, in the future we will have a small factory at the end of every street, and won't that be great, because it means we can make things locally and edit them and change them. And actually, we sort of already have factories at the end of every street. So you just have to actually look out for them and actually see where they are. And yeah, I'm just going to show you this short film, if it works.
My name is Marion Kane.
My name's David McAllister.
Julia Smith.
Ken Calder.
Nancy Chinnery.
Maggie Broadley.
Alan Hawthorne.
My name is Alan Dixon.
Douglas Lamb.
I'm Adam.
I'm Janie.
Gabriella.
My name's Dickon.
My name's Ewan.
Run a company called JSoft Boards.
Silo Design and Build.
Time Props.
Hunter Press.
Finch and Foreign.
JGB Steelcraft.
Piccolo.
Bespoke Atelier.
Armand Campbell.
I run Podbox.
5 Blend Rock.
Robert Noble.
Dirty Rocks.
We make cardboard boxes.
We make leather jackets.
Manufacture wax cotton.
Memorials, kitchen worktops, fireplaces.
French polishes, stains, waxes.
Printed circuit boards.
Functional ceramics, so mugs, bowls, cups.
Seals, gaskets, joints.
Woven polypropylene sacks, bulk bags and sandbags.
Throwing, hand building.
Belts, bridles.
Profile cut.
Specialise in anti-corrosion coatings.
Vintage inspired clothing.
Laser cutting, plasma cutting, water jet cutting, punching, folding, welding.
Based right here in the centre of town. It's really easy for people to come and be involved in the process.
People might come and not have a real idea of how to make things, so it's kind of explaining it, how to realise their ideas.
It's like we really like to take really diverse work.
For me, that's why I think I loved it so much, because it's just like, I can do everything. I can do everything.
We're based
It's called New Battle Abbey.
We're based in Elgin.
Glasgow.
Dundee.
The Isle of Egg.
Ardis and Inverness.
Dumfries and Galloway.
Edinburgh.
Ennis Kilbride.
Aberdeen.
Townbury.
St John's.
Guy.
So Sutton can actually make anything, give or take. And I think for me, that just going out and visiting all those people really just highlights that we don't need to rely on these mass manufactured systems, and actually we could have a world where we just manufacture things locally and we manufacture what we need. And I guess, yeah, that's kind of what we're trying to do in our organisation, is build what we need to build in terms of that infrastructure and that yellow circle. So yeah, various things we've done is that we've set up a marketplace, if you like, for people to be able to find local fabrication. But I guess even in that sense, it's about that scale. So sometimes it feels very intimidating, like I'm going to talk to a manufacturer, like that's industry, how on earth they're going to speak to them as someone that is small scale or an individual. But what I'm amazed every single time, so this is Fife and Glenrock, who are up near Aberdeen, you walk in there and they have all the CNC machinery that you would find in a makerspace as well, but then they'll make you things like this, which are incredible bespoke pieces of work. And a one-off, of course, they're stonemasons, like you'd only make a gravestone once, so having a one-off is actually not something that's out of the ordinary for them. Similarly, places, this is Highland galvanisers, and yeah, I mean, there's something incredible about watching a piece of metal being galvanised, like coming out this huge tank of molten metal. And of course they do really large scale stuff, but they'll also do your garden gate, so it's kind of a, I think, going to approach these companies and actually understanding that it's not a intimidating or difficult thing to do. It's actually very easy, and it's just about building that relationship, and I guess being empowered that we can actually make things locally, and that's really exciting. And similarly, starting small businesses related to that. So we just started writing some production guides, or commissioning people that are out there to do some production guides for us. So Laura Spring, who's a textile designer maker, I guess wrote about her experience in going from making everything herself in her small business into, you know, how do you scale up, how do you kind of up your production so that you are running a bit more of a scalable business but still keeping it local. And then in that, then you, I guess, crossing into different disciplines that you might not expect. So for textile designers, we met these two brilliant upholsterers recently, 10KH, and they were just the most enthusiastic, again, and passionate people, which we have I guess I'm quite delighted we get to meet those people all the time. But again, it's just that kind of practical thing of how do I move my practice on and realise that there's trades and skills that you can go and explore. And then make things yourself, because there's something very much about, like there is part of, you know, sending your file off to a factory to get something made, but then if you get to try it out yourself and you get the materials and you get stuck in and you actually understand things, like that is just, yeah, I can't recommend that enough, to be honest. It's a very empowering thing. Yeah, and again, it is very much all about relationships, I think, and that's, I think, how we build this in Scotland, is that we manage to set it up so that you know the right person to go to and you're not intimidated to go and approach that person. This is a Maker Speed Data event we did quite recently, where we had 20 manufacturers and 20 artists and designers doing very quick chatting to each other. I mean, there's people there who'd never been to any creative event in their lives, like hadn't even been to an exhibition, but then were there because they needed to get more work, but then spent the evening talking to 20 designers and 20 artists about new sculptures they could make. And again, I think that's quite an exciting thing. And yeah, I guess it's not always about making new things, fixing things and refurbishing things. So these are sky weavers who refurbished a loom. They made it all kind of from scratch and fixed it up using local fabricators and themselves. So I guess this is built out of bits of carpet and old farm machinery, but to make a loom, and again creating a small sustainable business from that. And I think there is something in fixing a lot of the problems out there that is really, really beautiful. This is a Japanese technique which I think highlights that really well. And yet it shows that even if things are quite scary and I guess there's that edge of the apocalypse coming at times, that actually, yeah, which this is how I feel about it most of the time, to be honest, is that it is actually, yeah, it's okay, and we are able to fix it, and yeah, that's how I feel about climate. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Vee. That was amazing. It's so good to see you traveled so far as well. I've been following your kind of journey since 2 years ago, and to see you come this far is amazing. Well, we're going to take questions, but while you're gathering your thoughts, I have a question for you. It feels you've pulled out all these factories from the woodwork and we're aware of them. Have the designers or artists' mindset changed? Because I remember when we were at uni, people tended to just have stuff shipped in from China because it was cheaper.
Yeah, I think there's definitely, in fact I was actually at a design agency last week, and there's definitely this shift, I think, they were saying that every single, or not every single, but a huge majority of young British brands right now, one of the things they kind of want to do first and foremost at the beginning is say, I've been made in Britain or I've been made locally, and it's kind of a no-brainer, because you can walk down the street and you can go and speak to that person and actually work there with them, rather than, and also the upfront costs of having something shipped from China now, give or take, like, are actually equaling out, and you have to order many more. So I think, yeah, I mean, it definitely is shifting. I think it's just that bit of it does just seem like, oh, but it's not here, and then can I not just go on Alibaba and get it shipped? But I guess my hope is that we become better than Alibaba, so it'll, yeah, make it easier. Yep.
Do you have any questions from the audience?
Hi, I'm Helen from BOP Consulting. We work within the creative industries. And I was just wondering how you found all the makers and the producers around Scotland.
So to start with, I guess, so this actually started when I was still at art school in my final year, and I spent most of my final year, I can't drive actually, so I would just take trains to the outskirts of industrial estates in Glasgow and literally like walk around and note down places, because this stuff doesn't really exist on the internet, because a lot of these companies don't have websites, and if they do, they're terrible. Or, yeah, I mean, the directories that exist are really outdated. So, yeah, people talk about data scraping, and it's more of a, you know, we physically go to the places and, like, take in the data. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a long process. So I've been collecting that list for about 2 to 3 years. And then the important part, I think, is the verification. So we actually make sure and go and visit every single person and have a conversation with them to make sure they will work with artists and designers, and they will do bespoke and one-off, and they understand where we're coming from. And that's, yeah, so it's one of those things, like, whenever people say to me, like, oh, someone will just come and, like, take this and copy it, I'm kind of like, well, yeah, but you need to go meet every single one of those factories, and it's going to take you this many years, and, you know, all that sort of stuff, so it's not scary at all, actually. Yeah, I guess the answer is a long time. Lots of Googling. Yeah.
And are there other kind of models in other countries that do this, or is this something that's quite new? It's great, by the way, I think it's brilliant.
It's, I guess at the moment it's not too widely known, but what we're trying to do is that like we're trying to establish those networks, and I'm very much trying to make it as open as possible so people can start them in other countries. So that's part of why I'm going to South Africa. We were out in like Moscow and Russia. We're saying, like, how do we do this here? But it's one of those things where people that live and work in those cities, they understand who's there way better than I ever could. So it's a case of how do we make what we've done clear and open that up. So yeah, again, maker speed data is something that we're just about to put tools on the internet so people can download it and run their own ones. So yeah, I hope it turns into something that lots of people start doing. But I don't think, well, yeah, there's kind of opportunities for us to share how we did it here. Yeah.
Thanks.
Hi there, John Ennis, Gayfield Creative Spaces. So you were emphasising about locality being the key thing in terms of climate. When you were going around different places, did you find the folk in the factory enthusiastic, or did any of them chase you away?
There is an element of walking into the Scottish manufacturing industry when I am a 24-year-old female with blue hair. That obviously is like a bit of a contrast to most people that are in that world, or a lot of people that were in that world. Yeah, but I guess that's part of what's been working in our favour actually as well. So it's, yeah, I mean, I guess there's certain things that we've definitely done in a way that, like, every single factory we visit, they get a free film that we make for them, they get photography, they get a free web listing that means that it's promoting their business and getting them new work. So kind of on those three things, it's always like there's actually, like there is absolutely no catch, that we're just trying to build something that's valuable. Yeah, so there's, I mean, sometimes we get kind of hit with things like, oh, how much does this cost? And like, are you stealing our data? And this sort of stuff. And it's like, we're really not, yeah, that, and we do of course get those questions, but it's just, I think, sticking with it. And like those, I guess people have been working in the industry for like 50 years, you know, they do what they do, and that's, you know, but if companies are still here, then it means that they're doing a good job. And so I guess for us, it's a case of we listen to what people are saying. So if we're doing something that's seems a bit too far out or is too fast or anything like that, then it's a case for us to actually listen and be like, well, how do we actually make it work for those people? There's been a few occasions. There was an injection molding factory which we were having like none of it. But
Any other questions from the audience?
So once you've got your list of manufacturers, I suppose, what's the hard bit from that point on? Is it finding the people who need to get the things manufactured, or the integration between, I have this one fantastic thing I want to get made, but how do I put that across to the people who make it? Or where do you find the hold up?
I think a lot of it right now is education. So like workshops have disappeared from a lot of art schools. So you have, and I guess in the wider population as well, like the people's understanding of how a thing is actually constructed and made has been taken away. Like it's not completely there anymore. And that's sometimes our biggest challenge. Like I'll get requests in every day from people saying, like, I guess it's that translation of, from someone says, I want to make a scarf. It's understanding, okay, well, are you weaving it? Are you printing it? Are you having it knitted up? Like, what kind of yarn are you using? Like, where all those things come into play? And even then right through to where you're getting it finished, like, where's your labeling coming from? Like, all those things. And yeah, it's that translation sometimes. So again, like, we're lucky that we can use that with, like, language processing in the site. So if you search scarf, we know that it should come back with weavers and knitters. But yeah, I mean, that's a big challenge for us. So I guess that's what we're trying to work towards. And one of our next things is saying, like, how can we make it clearer? I guess, yeah, things like being able to do CAD drawings, like, makes that much easier for a fabricator. But again, it's just conversation, like, being able to be quite, I guess, not too scared to use the wrong words. Like, I have that problem a lot because I'm kind of in design world, I'm like in manufacturing world, in the technology world. I sometimes have to creep into the public art, like public funding sphere. They all speak different languages, and I guess I don't do very well at that sometimes, but you have to just hope that people try and understand what you're saying. Yeah, that's the...
I think...
I just had a quick question. Hi, my name is Owen, and I wanted to ask, how do you square, I guess, both sides of what you spoke about 3 or 4 different worlds? So from making land to startup land, do you sort of have that face and then go off and make something and it's okay, or how do you balance the 2 sides?
My out of office is always on a Saturday. I mean that. I guess I'm influenced by so many different things, and I think that's what I love about what we do. Yeah, it's a really difficult question. I think, yeah, it's kind of, I think it's having a clear idea of what it is we're trying to achieve, and I think, like, recently we've kind of finally just come to terms with that. Like, I felt a huge pressure to be, you know, the next Etsy of services with this project, and actually, I think recently I realised that's not what, like, to do that means doing a 10-year journey into working in Silicon Valley and doing all that, and actually we started it because we wanted to make sure that Scotland had the best resource possible to manufacture things, and so that's what our focus is. But using technology and a way of working as a startup to do that. So it's kind of, yeah, I mean, it is really challenging, and I think sometimes when I definitely have moments of, like, panic and freaking out and not quite I'm wondering why that is, but I think it's because we work in different worlds quite a lot, so. We've got a good team though, so it's yeah.
Sounds great. Cheers.
Just to end, do you want to give us your email address or whatever? We have makers or manufacturers who want to get in touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just
leave
that up there.
Yeah, and we also have a to find list, so anything that's not, I guess, yeah, I mean, the website at the moment is very much a prototype, like it's the first website I ever designed and figured out how to build. And yeah, we have a list of anything that you're looking for that you can't find, or basically feedback. And yeah, but if you're hunting for something and you're like, I don't know how to make it, just let me know, and we'll probably be able to help you out. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Fee. That was amazing.